Good morning. Thank you so much for joining me here today at the city's 20th and B operations yard. We chose this location because, as you can see, we are growing our fleet of electric vehicles, and they are going to be further grown by the actions that the council took earlier this week that we are celebrating. I'm joined by a long list of San Diego city leaders. First and foremost, of course, our council president, Sean Rivera. We are joined also by Councilmember Joe LaCava, who's the chair of the Environment Committee, Councilmember Stephen Whitburn, whose district we stand in, and my dear friend, our councilmember and doctor on call at City Hall, Dr. Jennifer Campbell. We also have Patrice Baker, for Community Outreach Director at Groundwork San Diego, Nate Fairman, Business Manager at IBEW Local 465, as well as representatives from the Climate Action Campaign, the Energy Policy Initiative Center, San Diego Audubon Society, the San Diego Regional Chamber of Commerce, and many, many others. It does take a village to pass a climate action plan, everybody. So today we're here to celebrate a major milestone, one that I believe that we will look back in time as a turning point, when our community advocates and leaders came together to set a new trajectory for how our city will tackle the climate crisis. Earlier this week, the City Council approved a major update to the city's original 2015 Climate Action Plan, or CAP, which I was proud to author when I was the city's interim mayor. The updated CAP is the centerpiece of Our Climate, Our Future, a broader government-wide commitment to equitably addressing the climate crisis and related environmental, health, safety, and economic needs of our residents and our local businesses. This plan takes our climate efforts to the next level, ensuring robust implementation with appropriate urgency, as the latest science indicates that our window to avoid the worst impacts of climate change is rapidly closing. This reality has been reinforced in recent months with unprecedented fires, heat waves, flooding, drought, and climate-driven conflict and displacement occurring around the globe. I'd point out, it's 8 a.m., everybody. It's a bit hot. Council President's all in black. I'm very worried about him. This is not the San Diego I grew up with. I'm proud third-generation San Diegan. I remember what our summers were like. They were always warm. These are warmer than ever. We can't deny that that's happening, and we have to do something about it. This plan is doing something about it. So I will tell you that in the face of all this information, this council decided to step up, and when faced with a choice between doing the bare minimum required under the law and going big and going bold, much like the first time, this climate action plan chose to be bold. The central goal of this updated plan is to achieve net zero greenhouse gas emissions by the year 2035. It is ambitious, it is challenging, but the stakes are so extremely high, and the cost of inaction is frankly intolerable. The science-based target for our emissions reduction is an appropriate response to the City's Council's passage of the resolution declaring a climate emergency and guidance to pursue net zero as quickly as possible. I want to give a shout out to Councilmember Campbell for her leadership in that specific effort. It also aligns with our county's work to develop a regional decarbonization framework, as well as global goals of the Paris Climate Agreement. This climate action plan will bring about profound benefits for San Diegans. I feel like often we talk about the trade-offs and the challenges of what have to be done, but let's be clear about what this will do. Cleaner air, cleaner water, improved public health, local investment and job creation, infrastructure improvements, resilience to climate impacts like heat and drought, more safe and convenient mobility options like the ones we're building right there in the distance, a protected bikeway so that people can get from mid-city to downtown safely without taking their life in their hands and doing it while emitting zero carbon. And increase green space in the community. I envision a day when there's probably a bit more green space on this property. So we recognize, and I often hear from folks, what can San Diego do about the global climate change? Well, first off, let's always acknowledge we're the 8th largest city in this country, the 2nd largest in California. California is the 5th largest economy in the world. When San Diego speaks, people listen, and we have an obligation and responsibility to lead. But even if we didn't, what choice do we have? The climate is changing, people are being impacted, and we must do our part. And I would point you all back to 2015, when we set out the goal of having our city run on 100% renewable energy. Many criticized that goal as being too lofty, being too ambitious, impossible to reach. Here we are only a few years later, where there are days in this state where we have reached 100% renewable energy, right now, not theoretically, but right now. Most days we're at over 50%, and San Diegans right now can choose, if they want to get 100% renewable power from San Diego Community Power, our new community choice aggregator that was created by the first Climate Action Plan. My point is, for all the naysayers and the doomsayers, when we have decided to lead, people have followed, and we've actually been able to implement this. And I want to talk more about that. When you consider that this plan has just been passed, I want you to know that we have not been waiting for this plan to pass in order to take extreme climate action. We've already transitioned all of our city facilities to San Diego Community Power's 100% renewable energy service, and we're updating our fiscal policies to divest from fossil fuels. We've hired a new Chief Sustainability Officer, Shelby Busso, to lead the coordination of the CAP implementation across all of the departments that are involved. We funded early implementation steps, staffing, and resources in the budget to help implement the CAP. Take a look at the budget that's already in place today. Many positions, millions of dollars implementing this CAP that has just been implemented. We have partnered with our labor organizations. And again, shout out to Nate Fairman from IBEW to complete a workforce impact study of the city's planned municipal energy retrofits and future building code updates to require decarbonization of new construction. We've brought forward a new policy on implementation to decarbonize all city buildings and operations by 2035. We kickstarted a mobility master plan to achieve our transportation emission reduction targets. We've prioritized sustainability practices and policies and capital projects like our Parks for All initiative. We've made extensive investments to prepare for organic waste diversion and collection services, and so much more. Guys, picking up what I'm putting down? We have done a lot, and that was even before this new plan. Our commitment to actually implement this is rock solid, and we will get it done. About this new plan, I want to say my appreciation to our partners in labor, in business, and many community organizations, several of whom who are here today. They have helped to make sure that this plan is one of the most equitable you've ever seen adopted by a city. We have built equity into our CAP to make sure throughout the engagement process, with the help of the organizations I mentioned earlier, and to help identify and address the potential impacts of jobs and quality of life as proposed in this measure. This new CAP incorporates our Climate Equity Index, our community-driven tool to target climate investments in our most vulnerable communities. And it includes a section on air quality and prioritization of actions that can improve the air quality in our most polluted neighborhoods. Listen, I can go on and on. It's too hot already. It's only getting hotter with the more speakers who are here. I just want you to understand this is big, this is bold. It will be difficult to implement, but the alternatives are absolutely unacceptable. And the upside is that we protect the quality of life that makes us proud to be San Diegans. So I will simply say extreme appreciation to the City Council for their bold action earlier this week. And that particular action would not have been possible without the leadership of our City Council President, someone who before he was elected to our City Council was a fierce fighter for environmental justice, and he's brought that mindset and that passion and that dedication to his work at City Hall. Now as the leader of our council, it's no surprise to me that this council unanimously adopted this climate action plan update. So it gives me great pleasure to turn the podium over to my friend and our City Council President, Sean Elo Rivera. Council President.
Thank you, Mayor. Good morning, everyone. Sean Elo Rivera, San Diego City Council President, Representative for District 9. Very, very excited to be here and grateful, Mayor, to you and your team for the effort that you put into this. I'm thinking about 9 months ago, we stood in my district to announce the draft, the release of the draft. And we talked about that it was a great draft and there was more work to be done. And we did that work. We did that work with the community, and I want to make sure I recognize those community members, those advocates and organizers who were relentless in their effort. Climate Action Campaign, what's up? See you. EHC, SD350, Groundwork San Diego. We need to be pushed on this issue because it's too important not to do the right thing. The mayor mentioned some of the scarier components about climate change. And I'll be honest, sometimes that seems overwhelming to me as well. This is a global issue, 8th biggest city or not. We're just one city. Can we really do all that's necessary to stop climate change? I'll be honest, I don't know. I don't know that we can do it alone. We probably can't. But if we aren't part of the solution, we will certainly be part of the problem, and the problem is unacceptable. The other thing is, oftentimes we talk about the sacrifice and the scary things that will happen if the worst scenarios of climate change end up playing out. And I think there's another reason that's worth fighting for the implementation of this plan. And that's what it will mean for the lives of San Diegans on a very practical level. If we were to be successful in implementing this plan, every home would have cleaner air. We would have the ability to get to and from the things that we need to do in life, like work and school and shopping, with more convenience and with more options, with cheaper options. We would be able to have more trees and parks and clean air in our neighborhoods. And all the work to get there would be done by folks with great union careers. That is a future worth fighting for. Those tangible benefits for us and our communities are worth fighting for and worth us doing everything we can to ensure that the goals of the Climate Action Plan are met. There's a lot of skepticism as to whether or not we will actually achieve those goals. I get it. The reality is that the goals of the last plan were not met. But I'm going to ask folks to put aside the cynicism for a moment, the skepticism, and to get on board with trying to make sure we reach these goals. We all benefit from them. So I understand the skepticism. We should be held to a high standard, but we need everyone in this together. Again, it's not just because the consequences of climate change are devastating. It's because the future that we are fighting to create is one that is so, so beautiful. The last thing I want to make sure I mention as we talk about that better future is something that the mayor touched upon, and it was our commitment to reducing air pollution. There are parts of San Diego where, based on where you live, you have an incredibly higher chance of having asthma, of getting cancer. We're talking about babies who are not able to breathe clean air simply because of where they live. And those realities are a result of policy decisions that the city of San Diego made in the past. This Climate Action Plan makes a commitment to address that, to do better. Again, if that is not a future worth fighting for, a future where every baby in every neighborhood can breathe clean air, I don't know what is. So with that, I will thank the mayor again for your leadership on this and your commitment and collaboration. I will thank Councilmember LaCava for his fantastic stewardship of this Climate Action Plan through his committee. I will thank my colleagues for everyone pushing to make this as strong as possible. And again, thank you to the advocates and organizers. Thank you for holding us to a high standard. I know you will hold us accountable, but I will ask everyone in San Diego to get on board and be part of this team because, again, we all benefit if we succeed here. And with that, I will pass it to my friend and chair of the Environment Committee, Councilmember LaCava.
Thank you, Council President, for your stirring words in the introduction. Thank you, Mayor, for your leadership and for setting the goal of net zero emissions by 2035. It certainly is an ambitious target, but it's worth fighting for. As we've heard, it's the target that if we do not meet, we will continue to experience the real and consequential impacts of climate change in San Diego. In contrast, as you heard, achieving net zero will improve our city's resiliency. It will protect our infrastructure and our economy and provide a healthier city for all San Diegans. And let's not forget, San Diego is a great place to live, but we can do better. And we can make sure that every neighborhood, every community in San Diego is a great place to live for its residents and that the economy is thriving for our businesses. I want to thank again the mayor's leadership and our dedicated city employees that make this possible. Many of the CAP strategies are already underway, such as municipal building decarbonization, EV charging, as the mayor pointed out, with that new, very sexy way to charge your car. I'm very tempted to pull over there on the way out, but and of course mobility, to name just a few. And was mentioned, we also have a lot of help from partner agencies. We can't do it just alone. As a board member of the San Diego Community Power, I'm proud of their commitment to partner with us to ensure that by 2030, the old goal was 2035, but by 2030, every home and business is served by 100% renewable energy. The city of San Diego is doing a lot now, but make no mistake, we have a lot more to do and a shrinking window to get it done. 2035 is only 13 years away now. In this urgency to act on climate, we see that in the United Nations reports. We hear it from the leading scientists right here in San Diego at Scripps Oceanography. But I also want to take a moment, as the council president do, to thank the individuals and organizations who have spoke when we brought this to the Environment Committee and we spoke at City Council. Many of them are behind me. There are some in the audience. Thank you for your good work. Your patience and persistence is paying off because we're on the right track. As the council president said, whatever happened in the past is the past. We are here today. We are the leaders that you've been waiting for to deliver this climate action plan, and we're going to make it happen, and we're going to do it with urgency. I think that's the key word you're going to hear from a sense of urgency. And it means, as we're talking, integrating climate action into the everyday work of every city department and continuing to lead by example as one of the region's largest employers. This means developing the infrastructure and the capacity for San Diegans to drive EVs and solar and battery storage on their homes. This means making us competitive for state and federal resources to sustain a green workforce of skilled and trained jobs. With the adoption of the net zero cap, we know where we now need to go. And now it is upon us to take all these words and that report and put it into real action. And that's why, as chair of the city's Environment Committee, I am committed to working with Mayor Gloria and the council president and the council and our 11,000 city employees to implement this climate action plan with the urgency and efficiency that this crisis demands. And with that, I would now like to introduce one of those partner organizations, Patrice Baker, the Community Outreach Director at Groundwork San Diego.
Thank you so much. We appreciate being here. We are really honored to be asked to speak this morning and to talk about some of the work we've been doing with other community-based organizations. This is what advocacy is about. It's about partners coming together on all levels and being able to speak in one voice. And we need to do that one voice at a time. There is so much work to be done, and we've been doing part of it at Groundwork, but we know it takes all of us together doing the work. We're celebrating not only Better Build San Diego, but the climate action climate action plan, And, that was a process. And when we were called together at CBOs to sit down at the table and begin to look at the climate equity index and then go to the climate action plan, having that process, being involved in that piece of it was kind of new. It was new to me. And so it was a whole learning experience, but it was great to have the other CBOs together as we shared expertise, as we shared ideas and strategies on how to come together to create a plan that's going to create our commitments, reach our goals, and strategize us so that even if we're not there to see all the results, we know it's in process. Mayor Gloria, your commitment to the social equity and inclusion of communities and of voice and communities of concern was apparent throughout this whole process, and allowing us to meet together every month to just drill down and do outreach and do those things that are important to reach the residents. I call them the experts because they live in the spaces that we're wanting to make better. The disproportionate and disastrous impacts of climate change on communities of concern is being felt by our residents more every day. And like I said, they're the experts. And so one thing about moving forward is continuing to engage them, to get their responses and information, to get their feedback on how things are working. But we know from the top down, this is urgent, it's important, and it must be done now. Not everyone can see it, and we understand that. Not everyone will realize what we know to be true. However, if we continue to move it forward collectively and show the signs where they show up, indicate where the climate's changing and things are changing around us, and that's impacting us every day. I mean, we can look at gas prices. So as we promote electric vehicles, we're like, okay, go get one now because you can't afford the gas. Groundwork San Diego and the Collaborative, we have a coalition. We celebrate also the mayor's announcement of the long-awaited Choice Creek Regional Park, which allows us to accelerate the development of active transportation and clean mobility, and connections between the eastern reaches of the watershed all the way down to the bay. So again, we have our dream of being able to bike or walk down this trail that leads all the way to the bay. It's about connectivity. And that's what this is about today, connecting the information that we have to the people that we know would need to help us implement it. We've begun to work closely with city stormwater to improve storm drain systems to avert anticipated climate-related flooding and heat islands. And that is important because the impacts of these are felt in our neighborhoods. And so it's about working with various departments to take care of that infrastructure, to look at it and see what needs to be done and work with the community to get their ideas and talk to them about how we can do it together. We continue to deliver clean energy and are now working in the decarbonization education role with the city and other departments, and we're getting the information out to our youth and our families. That's part of what we do as well with our green team. So we want to pass this information on, because we're starting something. We're not starting, we're restarting, because we're always restarting. The work begins way before we came about. However, we know that it's our responsibility in this time to pick it up and do something about it. Finally, we appreciate the opportunity to work together to improve community engagement efforts throughout the city. We talked about, everyone's mentioned that. I support all the comments about the urgency and reducing the emissions as our goal. And the engagement part is another piece that we're allowed to talk about and work on with the city. So we appreciate that. We appreciate all of our partners in this work. And thank you for asking us to be here today and speak. I'd like to introduce Nate Fairman, Business Manager, IBEW Local Union 465.
Good morning. My name is Nate Fairman, and I'm the Business Manager of IBEW Local Union 465, where I represent 2,900 union utility workers who keep the lights on for millions of residents in Southern California. The utility linemen, gas construction workers, system operators who manage the grid, the mechanics and trolley workers at MTS who keep our public transit system safe and reliable. Those are just some of the incredible union workers whose voices I elevate here today. And I will be honest, a lot of my members fear being left behind in a clean energy transition. Some of my members are fearful when they hear buzz phrases like just transition for fossil fuel workers. And my members are skeptical that environmentalists are the ones we can lean on in these critical conversations to ensure that our union utility workers will continue to be able to put food on the table for their families in the renewable energy landscape of the future. But like we always say in the labor movement, if you are not at the table, you are on the menu. So it is with those concerns that I accepted an appointment by Mayor Todd Gloria to serve on the city's Climate Action Plan Review Committee, to give our essential union utility workers a seat at that table. And over the past few months, the Climate Action Plan Review Committee, a team comprised of labor advocates, environmentalists, and our utility partners, we worked together to address these issues head on. We wordsmithed language, we shared commitments, and we all became united in our commitment to job protections and job creation in our city. Good jobs, good union jobs, middle-class, family-sustaining jobs in a city where more and more of us are being priced out of the home market or even being forced to move away. Those issues will be addressed in this Climate Action Plan update as well. And I want to say thank you to Mayor Todd Gloria. I want to say thank you to the Climate Action Plan Review Committee members. And thank you to the City of San Diego for being proactive and having the courage to bring all the stakeholders together to ensure that no worker is left behind as we work together to address climate change. Thank you very much. And to close us out, I want to bring up Mayor Todd Gloria.
Nate, thank you so much for those kind comments. We certainly appreciate all that you do on a daily basis for your workers and for the middle class here in San Diego, and for what you're helping us to do to make sure the future is brighter than ever for blue-collar workers here in San Diego. Many of you know I'm the son of a maid and a gardener. I concern myself greatly with what it takes to actually make ends meet in this town, and I want to use policy opportunities like the Climate Action Plan to make sure that more working folks can see a future for themselves here in San Diego. Let me conclude by just acknowledging a few more folks who are here, these people who are You made tough stuff, you guys. You're still standing in the sun and you're here. I appreciate it. I want to start with a big shout out to Randy Weil, my senior policy advisor. He's the one who ran point on this. Got everyone around the table, did the incredibly hard work. He is soft-spoken, but let me let you know, he moves mountains. This guy does great work. Don't steal him from me. Randy's just absolutely incredible. We also have a number of our city executives who are here. I think two of our DCOOs are here, Aaliyah Curry, Chris McFadden, and then, of course, we have Alyssa Muto, who is our chair or the director of the Sustainability and Mobility Department. Heidi Von Blum, who is the director of our planning department. I mentioned before, it takes a village, right? So both of their departments, plus a multitude of others. Kay Smith's here from General Services. We have an incredible team of city leaders. Everyone who's committed understands that even if their department isn't the sustainability department, they still got a piece of this climate pie, and they're working on this. So I appreciate all of what they do. I mentioned our council members, all of whom, many many of whom are here, our independent budget analysts, our city auditor, and independent departments that have watched this and helped to make sure that this process has been good and given us great feedback. Our partners at the county, I mentioned earlier, they are leading on a regional decarbonization effort. We want to support that, as well as countywide partners like the port, the airport, SANDAG, the Air Pollution Control District, San Diego Community Power. We got a lot of community-wide organizations. They have been a part of this process. They have informed this process, and we're grateful for it. Nate mentioned that we've got a Climate Action Plan Review Committee. I want to thank all the members who gave their valuable time to serve on that. Volunteer, everybody, not paid. I'm cheap. But they've helped make this plan better, and I appreciate it. We also had Equity Stakeholder Working Group. Again, appreciate their participation and involvement. We also had community-based organizations, the Institute for Local Government, Greenlining Institute, the Climate Action Campaign, Environmental Health Coalition, Urban Sustainability Coalition, Casa Familiar, and I saw behind me is my friend from Circulate San Diego, Colin Parent is here. Colin leads Circulate San Diego. He's also on the City Council in La Mesa. Don't sleep on La Mesa, everybody. They're doing some work out there for climate, largely with Colin's leadership. Colin, thank you for being here. IBEW, Local Laborers 89, Laborers Local 89, United Association of Plumbers, Pipe and Steam Fitters, Local 230, Carpenters Local 169, 619, yeah. The Labor Council and the Building Trades Council, labor, industry, advocacy organizations, everyone working together. And last but not least, I want you all to know 4,000 San Diegans provided public comment on this plan. 4,000. We get a lot of speakers, council members, am I right? We get a lot of speakers at different items. 4,000. This plan has been fully vetted by the public, and I'm grateful for every San Diegan who took a moment to provide their input on our climate and our future. Listen, this city, as I'm trying to illustrate, this has been a part of a broad coalition of folks who are going to work not just to pass this plan as we did earlier this week, but to actually implement it. And I want to encourage those who may not be aware of all the details of this plan, go to the city's website, sandiego.gov/climatefuture, to learn more, understand how you can help the city meet these lofty and important goals, and importantly, to preserve what we love so much about this wonderful community that we're all so lucky to live in, our incredible weather, our high quality of life. It's ours to keep if we're willing to work for it. I think this plan proves that we're willing to work for it. With that said, we're done, you guys. Can you guys come in all close, real tight? We're going to take a group shot, and then for the members of the media here, we'll all be available for one-on-ones. Happy to take any questions that you have. Get in close, everybody. And thank you so much for being here today.